Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. Today I wanted to talk about the 11 reasons why it took me so long to get better. If you've heard my story, you know that it took me like 13 years to get rid of my back pain and sciatica, and crazy enough, I knew about TMS and this Dr. Sarno guy for 12 of the 13 years, so don't let that terrify you. I'm going to share with you all the reasons why it took me so long. And by avoiding some of these mistakes I made, you're not going to take nearly 13 years. You're going to get better way faster because you got the cheat sheet, right? You know the secrets, which I did not know. So, loosey-goosey, relax. Take a few breaths. Know that you're okay. This is all temporary. False alarms. So, all right. So, as you may have known, it took me 13 years to get better from my chronic back pain and sciatica. And I like to say the reason is because I made every mistake known possible, did all the things wrong, even though I knew about Dr. Sarno. And so, a while ago, I created an 11 mistakes document. And that has made its way into the book that I just published. So I just want to kind of go through each of those items. But let me start here. I've recently simplified recovery down to clarity as to what's going on, plus being unbothered. And so I had clarity because I was pretty darn certain. I knew that I had TMS, as Dr. Sarno called it, tension myositis syndrome. I was very confident that that's what it was, and I didn't really waver very much. But unbothered, I was plenty bothered by the symptoms. So simply put, I had clarity, but I was very bothered by the symptoms, and that being bothered by the symptoms kept me making these mistakes. So I'm going to go through it. And I'm just referring to a printout here just so I don't forget anything. But the number one mistake I was making was catastrophizing. I was predicting a real bad future. And that's never helpful. Why? Because when you predict a bad outcome, what do you got? You got danger, perceived danger, fear. Definitely not a beneficial thing. So, predicting a catastrophic future is basically doom and gloom, expecting the worst, predicting you'll never get better. Now, the second mistake I was making a lot of was I was afraid of them, and I was giving the symptoms a lot of attention, meaning I stared at them all day. I didn't like them. I woke up thinking about them, worried about them. How bad's today going to be? If I needed to do something, I would do it with fear. Oh no, if I do this, I'm going to hurt. If I got to jump in the car and drive somewhere, oh no, it's going to hurt because it always hurt in the car. And then I'd get out and I would try to stand up and straighten my back, and oh, that was always hurting. So I definitely had a lot of fear, and as a result, the symptoms got a lot of attention. Now, what else did I do? I tried to fix my pain all the time. I was always trying to figure out how the heck do I get these symptoms to stop. I was predicting bad things, but I was also trying to fix them. And I was reading Sarno's books over and over again. I was trying meditations, journaling. Somatic tracking wasn't even a thing back then. I wasn't aware of it. But I was trying to do breath work. And I was trying to do Sarno's 12 daily reminders. A couple core ones were think psychologically, talk to your brain, reject the physical, stop all physical treatments. Well, I didn't really do that. I was still stretching through the vast majority of the time. And at times I was going to chiropractic and physical therapy. Right? So even though I knew it was TMS, I was still trying to give me some relief. So I was constantly in a fix-it mode, trying to get rid of the symptoms, mostly with a psychological, mental, mind-body approach, but I still slipped into treating the body. So that didn't work for me. So another thing that I did often was I watched the calendar. I kept track. I was like, man, I've been dealing with this for 4 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Holy crap, 10 years with pain. And all that does is put more pressure on yourself to get better. So I don't like watching the calendar. I think that's a bad idea. I have people telling me, all right, Dan, I know what's going on. I'm going to be better by June. I'm like, nah, don't set that. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying setting that date and watching the calendar and knowing, yeah, I've been at this for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, and I'm going to get better by this time. All that means is pressure, pressure, pressure. And if you're tracking like I've been doing this for 2 years and I'm not better yet, what you're doing is by watching the calendar, you're reminding yourself that this isn't working, right? So there's two aspects to watching the calendar. This is not working for me. Look at how long I've been doing it. Got it. Now, if you're saying I'm going to be done by June when I go on vacation, I'm going to be better, what are you doing? You're putting pressure on yourself. And every day, every week, every month, it gets closer and closer to June. What are you feeling? More pressure. I'm not there yet. Uh-oh, it's going to ruin my vacation. Uh-oh, it's going to ruin my wedding. Uh-oh, it's going to ruin my whatever. I need to get better by then. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Does that feel safe? Or does that raise the danger signals? So watching the calendar, never a good idea. Never a good idea. Another thing, using medical names and terms to describe symptoms. So I talk to people all the time who are like, yeah, my fibromyalgia, my whatever, and they use the medical names to describe their symptoms. Nowadays, it's long COVID, my long COVID, my fibromyalgia. I'm like, time out. As I'm coaching, I'm saying, do you have fibromyalgia? Yeah. Well, you're aware that fibromyalgia is a mind-body condition that responds very well to the approaches I teach and many of the other TMS coaches and therapists and doctors teach. Fibromyalgia is not a disease that you can find on a blood test or on an x-ray or image. It's a medical label that the doctors and the internet says is incurable, and you can't do anything about it. They don't know what it causes, what it's caused by, and it's incurable. So why would you possibly want to hang on to the label called fibromyalgia? Because along with it comes the fear of don't know what causes it, and it's incurable. Same thing for all the medical labels we have. Once you know something is TMS, perceived danger, pain, or other symptoms, a perceived danger response, drop the medical label. Because with that medical label comes along all of the fear, all of the stories, all of the terror you've heard. Right? So another problem, doing online research. Well, that just leads you down the path of self-diagnosing yourself and finding your way, well, people with back pain also have this, and then they have this, and then this, and then this. And the online research can cause us to really feel broken because we now have labels. We have doctors telling us what's wrong with us. We have internet websites telling us what's wrong with it. So, mistake is definitely doing online research. Dr. Google, sorry Google, Dr. Google is not your friend. Dr. Google will scare your pants off you. So another thing that online research will do is cause us to find support groups online. Unfortunately, I call those the bad neighborhoods. I call them toxic support groups. They are oftentimes extremely well-meaning people who are suffering deeply. So they start a fibro group or a medication withdrawal, a benzo withdrawal group, or any type of a back pain group. But there are a bunch of people who believe in the mainstream narrative that our bodies are broken. And so you've got a bunch of wonderful people who are suffering deeply, who are terrified. And if you join the group, they're going to teach you to be terrified because they don't know about Sarno's work and the mind-body connection and the reason for symptoms. And if you go in there and you try to tell them, you're likely to get attacked. Comment below if that's happened to you. Oh, you should look at this. You should think about that. Check out Dan's videos. And the fangs come out. The venom is flying because people don't want to be told it's in your head because it's an incorrect belief. People think that if you say the brain is creating the pain based on a false perception of danger, people believe you're calling them crazy and that they're imagining their pain. They're not. The pain's real. So, joining those toxic support groups, never a good idea. This is one that I fell prey to, talking about my pain constantly, all day, every day, with anybody who would listen. Hey, Dan, how's your pain? Oh, it's awful. I'd go on and tell them. And so that never was beneficial. So, let's stop talking about the symptoms. Why? Because talking about them keeps them present. If we want them to go away, we have to convince the brain that they're insignificant. And if it's insignificant, why are you talking about them all day? Does that create a sense of safety by talking about them? Or does it just continue the perception of, we got a problem here, right? Houston, there's a problem. So, stop talking about your symptoms. Now, here's an interesting one. Believing your doctors and not believing your doctors. These things can keep you stuck. First of all, believing your doctors. You have fibromyalgia. You have this, it's incurable. You have this, look at your MRI, look at your imaging study. You have this, you have that. There's the reason for your symptoms. Believing the doctors will potentially keep you stuck because in many cases, doctors give us a medical diagnosis with no solution, no cure, or they follow it up with a bunch of treatments that don't work. Then we become even more despondent and lose all hope. So when we believe doctors, when they're telling us bad things like you're never going to get better, get used to it, that's a bad thing. Now there's other times when doctors will look at us and go, I don't know what's going on. And those are the doctors we don't believe. Because the doctor that says, I don't know what's going on, there's no cause that I can tell for your symptoms or your pains, those are the doctors we don't believe. So it depends on which doctor you're working with and what they're telling you, but sometimes believing doctors can cause more fear and cause more despair. And other times when they say, you're actually okay, I don't see a problem, and we don't believe them, that creates more fear and more despair. So that's an interesting one. And we have to use our discernment to figure out what to listen to. Now here's the deal. The rule of thumb. Absolutely, the rule of thumb is rule out anything catastrophic, significant, disease process, fractures, infections, things that absolutely, without any doubt, require medical attention. Right? Let's rule out the big stuff. And if the doctor goes, yeah, you're okay, you're not dying, then we can use some assessments that I didn't create. They were created over decades between Sarno and Schubner and all of the medical associates in the PPD Association. These doctors have been doing clinical work for decades, and they've figured out the characteristics of symptoms. So rule out the life-threatening, catastrophic stuff, then rule in the mind-body condition. And if it is a mind-body condition, I'm also going to say stop using the medical labels because the medical label is incorrect. Stop using the diagnosis because that is also incorrect once you know it's a mind-body TMS condition, neuroplastic pain, perceived danger response, those types of things. Once you know that, drop the medical stuff because the medical stuff is just a label. And one of the last things that I definitely did was allowing my life to be consumed by the pain. Most of my life was in some way or other shaped by my back pain and sciatica. Things I did, how I felt mentally, emotionally, physically, what I would do on a daily basis, what I would avoid on a daily basis, the things I would agree to. Oh, I don't feel like going to your mother's house. I'm going to stay home. I'd lay in bed. I'd watch TV just because I was avoiding the pain. I let my life be consumed by the pain. And then there was other times where I knew it was Sarno stuff, but it wasn't working. I'd get frustrated. I'd get fearful, get pissed off that it wasn't working. Then after a while, I would just throw in the towel and be like, screw this. I'm not even going to try because it's not working. So I would quit, and eventually I would pick it back up again because it was the only thing that made sense. So are you making some of these mistakes? Learn from my mistakes. Let's shave more than a decade off of your recovery. The things I teach work predictably, reliably. It's your turn. I'm here to help you. I'll be here every single day. I got my book now, so you got all the archive of daily videos, dansyoutube.com. If you're not a subscriber on YouTube, hit that red button to subscribe. The resources are here. dansfaststart.com. Series of videos that'll soup to nuts, give you everything you need. Now, if you really want some fast tracking and some one-on-one help to eliminate some doubt and get some coaching on how to navigate your days better, join the group. painfreeyougroup.com. Great group of people. We're kind of like a family. We all know and love each other, and you can join in at any point. There's no start or end to it. At any time of the month, you can join, and you're a member for a month from your start date. And then each month, if you decide to stay, you'll get billed again, $100 a month. But you can cancel any time through the support menu. You can do it yourself. Or if you can't figure it out, just email us. But come get the help. There's a video course that's part of the membership. There's a private Facebook community that you can interact with the other folks. And I'm basically coaching. I have open office hours for 12 hours a week. 4 sessions, Monday, Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday. Different times of the day to accommodate different time zones around the world. It's New York City times. So if you go to painfreeyougroup.com and look at the times, we're in New York City time zone. So if you don't know what the difference is, go to Google. What time is it in New York City? You'll find that in the UK, you're 5 hours ahead. So add 5 hours to my schedule, and you'll figure out what time it is for you, for example. So this video is going long here. I appreciate you all. But that really gives a pretty good idea as to why it took me so darn long. I made every mistake possible, and it kept me from getting better. How did I eventually get better? When it happened, I couldn't have even told you how. In hindsight, I realize I made the pain insignificant. I lived my life despite the pain, no longer talked about it. I finally said, look, folks, stop asking me about it. I'm not going to talk about it. I stopped complaining about it. Stopped trying to fix it. I decided to live my life despite the pain, and eventually stumbled accidentally on the things that I teach every single day. Eventually my brain got the message. But even once it turned off, I was still terrified of it coming back. I had to calm those fears over time. And I haven't had any chronic symptoms in, I don't even know the number of years, but well over a decade, maybe 14 years since I got pain-free. I don't even know. It's been a long time. So you can do it too. Implement the things I teach every day. If you want some help, buy the book. painfreeyobook.com. I'll take you to the USA Amazon website. Grab the book. It's on audible.com as well. The book is called Pain Free You, Teach Your Brain to End Your Pain. And it's unbelievable. Thank you for everybody who gave me a book review. 139 book reviews with a 5-star rating. I'm absolutely floored by the response. And I was terrified to publish this book because I was like, I don't know if it's going to be well received, and I just can't believe the feedback. Go read the book reviews on Amazon. Even if you don't buy the book, read the book reviews. It'll give you a boost of confidence that, wow, this stuff actually works. I'm going to implement it. So I hope everybody is doing great. I hope these stories or mistakes that I made can help you from making them. And I believe that by learning from my mistakes, you're going to get better in a fraction of the time that it took for me to get better. And so I love you folks. And as always, I will see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.